Good evening, guys. Welcome to week 4 of the Paranormal and Spiritual Apprenticeship. I'm just going to check after last week when we had some audio issues. I'm just going to check that my sound is all good. So just bear with me for a second. We'll make sure that this is all working. I'm not sure that it is. If you can just jump on and give me a thumbs up to make sure that we've got sound and it's not all crackly like last week. So just bear with me for a second and I'm just going to trial it. And I'm not sure that we have got sound. Oh, yep. I'm not sure that we have got sound. Okay, great. I'll just mute that now. Okay, so I've just jumped on. Okay, great. Okay, I'm all good. Sorry. Okay, so I hope you've all had a great week. We've had a very busy week here. And yeah, another busy week ahead. So no tea tonight. So I get asked every week, what tea are you drinking? I'm not drinking tea tonight. It's too hot. Just got the trusty old water. So this week on Thursday, on the 21st, we have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I can see my screen glitching, so I hope that's not going to be an issue. So Ghostbusters is out this week. I think it's the 5th movie, so I'm wearing my Ghostbusters shirt tonight. So yeah, Rob and I thought we might go and see it on the weekend. We've got a few things. We're actually going to the Q station this weekend. So if we get a chance, maybe on Sunday, we will go and pop in and watch that. We've got lots to go through tonight, so I'll just wait a little bit and see if we get... I've come on a little bit early. I might just get straight into it and you can watch it back if you miss any of it. So this will be our last week of the Paranormal and Spiritual Apprenticeship. You'll be able to go back and watch it all the other previous weeks on our Facebook and on our YouTube. After this week, we're going to take we might take a week's break, but we will be back on Tuesday nights. And instead of doing the apprenticeship, we'll be, hey Rach, how are you? I'm going to be on Tuesday nights cards. All right, so you'll be able to jump on and hopefully get a mini reading, a quick reading. So yeah, so we've got a few people jumping on. Rach, can you hear me all right? I just want to make sure I'm not having any sound issues like I did last week. And just give me a hi Claire, how are you? If one of you lovely ladies could let me know whether the sound is all good before I get started. So it's quite hot in here tonight. Yep, all good. Excellent. All right, so we've got a fair bit to go through tonight. Just some of the last things that I really wanted to... good, thanks. Sound is all good. Great, thank you. Just a few things that I wanted to... hey, Sarah. I wanted to finish off with, because this will be our last week of the Paranormal and Spiritual Apprenticeship. And at the end of this session, we're going to have a Q&A. So I've put together some questions that we get asked quite a bit. So it might be able to help you answer some of your questions, but feel free to ask any questions along the way. So where to investigate? Where are the best places to investigate? Everyone's different. Everyone has their preference as to where they prefer to investigate, but I've put together a bit of a list. So basically anywhere that you think may be haunted or has had a history of hauntings obviously is a great place to go and investigate. At the top of my list is hospitals and asylums. The reason being is asylums for me are one of my favourite places to go to, because I find that going back in time, a lot of people were put into asylums that didn't necessarily need to be there. And there was a lot of heartache and confusion. A lot of people that were in there did have mental health issues, and there was a lot of confusion and things like that with them while they were there, which would have caused a lot of stress, and that would have imprinted on the environment, energy-wise. If you go down to Beechworth in particular, down to the asylum there, on the wall they have this this list of reasons why you could have been put into an asylum, and it's scary, for the smallest things. For example, if a husband decided that he had no more use for that wife, for his wife, or he wanted to take on a new wife, but didn't necessarily know how to, get rid of the first wife, he could just claim that she was insane. And some of the reasons that they could claim was, didn't put the dinner on the table, spoke out of turn. Just crazy, crazy. I've got a photo somewhere that I took of that list at Beechworth Asylum. It's crazy, scary. So a lot of people, I think, were put into those asylums for the wrong reasons. A lot of them probably didn't need to be in there. So I just find that investigating in asylums I found that they've always had a lot of energy, but I like to try and communicate with the spirits there because I think they've got a lot to say, and sometimes being able to come through to an investigator or a medium, even in the smallest way, it's giving them, I guess, a voice, to have their last say, or to maybe clarify or make them feel better, to be able to get their story across, that maybe, I wasn't in here for the right reasons, or, maybe it's refreshing for them because they were in there for mental health reasons and there was confusion in their life. But now that they've passed over, they've got mental clarity, and it might be nice for them to be able to come through, and just have their last say, I guess. So that's why I like to, it is crazy, Claire. Some of the reasons are just nuts. And like, we were having a laugh at it only because I think it was with Belinda, and we're sitting there reading through them, and I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, Rob could have put me in for that. He could have put me in for that. Could have put me in. But yeah, I like asylums because I just feel that it's people that were suffering, and now that they're not suffering anymore and they've passed over, it might be a nice opportunity to give them a voice, basically, to see if they want to say anything, when they're a little bit clearer, when their spirit's clearer. Prisons and jails are next on my list, and they're probably my second favourite. They are investigating a jail or a prison is completely different to a hospital and asylum. The energy is different. The way you approach it has to be different. And what I find interesting with those is that the spirits that come through aren't always inmates. Sometimes they're guards. But most of the time they're inmates, and they try to intimidate you, especially being a woman. And yeah, it's a very different energy, and like I said, you've got to approach it a little bit differently. Some people talk about provoking, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I would never go into an asylum and provoke. For just out of respect. In a jail, sometimes I have in the past, but I choose not to do that now. It has helped get contact with spirits, but I don't think it's very respectful. So I've stopped doing it quite a while ago. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Hey, Belinda Dull, how are you? We'll talk about that a little bit more. So yeah, prisons and jails, very different way of investigating them. Cemeteries and churches, look, in some cemeteries, there's a couple of cemeteries that we've had some really great evidence and really great contact, and one of those is Windy Gully in Wollongong. We've had absolutely amazing contact that we can verify as it's coming through the voice recorder. I've got the camera on a grave, and it's telling me information that's actually on that grave. Hi, Barb. How are you, darling? Yeah, so we've had we've had some really good investigations and activity and evidence from cemeteries. Not a lot in churches. We've done a few churches, but I just find that in churches it's more residual. Cemeteries is like a 50-50. You're either residual or you've got a lot of activity, is what we've found anyway. You guys might be a little bit different. So historic locations, buildings, museums. Actually, Barbie's from Mount Victoria Museum, and we've been up there and investigated, and that's quite active. And in a museum or a historic home or house or property, it could be the land, it could be the house, but it could also be something that's in that property. And because museums have acquired furnishings and equipment and displays from all sorts of different areas, different eras, and that sort of thing, and historic pieces, then there's more likely to be energy attached to those. So we found that, yeah, Mount Victoria was, the museum there was quite active, and I think we've just recently put up one of our videos from there, the Ned Kelly video. So hey, Wild Mary, hey, Hectic, hey, Sal. Yeah, so also private homes and workplaces. Now, we get a lot of people saying, oh, I think my house is haunted. They're really tricky because, of course, they can be haunted, but a lot of the times it's people who've maybe watch too much TV or want it to be haunted, or don't quite understand what's happening in their house is not actually a haunting. So private investigations, they're really interesting, but they can be quite hard too, because you might have someone that is absolutely fearful of what's going on in their property, and not wanting it there, or too embarrassed to tell you things that are actually happening, so you can piece together the story. Or it might be that they're just so intent on wanting it to be haunted that their imagination goes astray. So private investigations are really hard, and we approach those in a very different way. That they take a lot longer, because there's a whole interview process that we do with the clients, and it's talking about not just what they're experiencing, but all different aspects of the house. Like, we look at the land that it's on, we look at the history. Have we been able to look up anything significant in history? And then we've got to look at the family that's there too. What's going on in the family? Is there any major events in that family that could be causing some negative energy? Could it be a lot of EMF? I mean, teenage bedrooms these days, they've got all their gadgets, their phones, their computers, all those strip lights and everything. So that can actually be generating energy and a lot of EMF. And EMF, if it's too high and too dense in one small area, can actually make you feel like you're being watched, can give you headaches, it can do all sorts of things to make you feel that you have a haunting when you actually don't. So private homes are interesting. We've had a few workplaces. Workplaces are a little bit hard unless the owner or the management is happy for you to go in there. So we've had a few people that say, oh, you've got to come to my work, but then we can't get access because the bosses are like, no. Another place that you could investigate, and I'd really like to advise that you don't do this until you've had a few years experience, is tragic sites. So sites of devastation and things like that. We did last year, for the full year, we did a number of investigations. Some of them we put public, some of them we didn't. But we were doing an experiment of anniversaries to see if anniversaries of an event, a tragic event, stirred up any or increased the activity in that area, and whether we were getting more communication on that actual date. So, for example, one of the ones I can tell you about was the Milpera massacre. So anyone that lives in probably New South Wales, at least, maybe all of Australia, knows about the Milperra massacre with the bikies. So we went and did an investigation there. It was a bit of a covert thing because being on the anniversary, we had to make sure that we were being respectful for any family members that may have been in the area. So yeah, we did that, and we did like the Granville train, Sarah's grave on the day of her death. There's a few other ones that we've done, and the whole idea was to see, and it meant going to these locations not just once, but a couple of times before, during, and after, and to see if on the anniversaries their level of activity had increased, whether the memory or the energy or the imprint of that tragic energy increased. And what we found, sorry, I think I've actually got a busted rib, so it's a little bit uncomfortable tonight. What we actually found was only in one location, and that was the Milperra massacre, did we feel that the energy had increased. So it was interesting to do. Our thought pattern of, an anniversary date would heighten the activity. We found that it didn't necessarily do that. So that was a bit of a good experiment to do. But yeah, look, doing those we did go to Belangolo, not on the anniversary, but we did go there, and that's what I mean about tragic sites and things like that. I'll never ever go there again. That was horrible. As a sensitive, I would never go back. And I mean, Rob's not a sensitive. He felt it too. It was just horrible. So unless you're completely prepared and you've been doing it for a little while, I wouldn't suggest that you go and do those sorts of sites. But if you are going to go, then you really need to protect yourself. And I wouldn't suggest that you go into Belangolo definitely don't go by yourself. It's too isolated. And you can understand why that site was chosen. But yeah, protect yourself spiritually and go with a group. Definitely a heavy spot. Yeah, it is. That is one place I'm interested to visit. Was that Belangolo? I think you're saying, Hectic. Yeah, so if you're going to go and do those sites, then you need to plan and prepare for them. And please don't go out if you're new to the field. Please don't go out there and do those until you've had some experience in other types of sites and you know what to expect. Also battlefields. So we've been able to go to a Civil War battlefield. We didn't really investigate in the sense of having a lot of equipment and things like that because we were travelling overseas. We're in Vicksburg, so it's just up from New Orleans, and that was amazing. Absolutely, you could feel it. Like, it was dead quiet, but you could feel you just felt anxious and you felt desperation, and it was an amazing experience. Yes, the forest. I would be taking an army of people with me. Yeah. I'm going to jump on one night and go through some of our top 5 or top 10 places that we've investigated as far as getting a lot of activity, and that will definitely be on it. So we've got a few tales to tell about that one. But yeah, the battlefields were really interesting, very sad. Yeah, they were really good. We are going to, when we go over this year, we are going back to Vicksburg because I want to take Belinda there and see what she feels. And there's a couple other ones that we're going to pop into along the way if we get time. So yeah, look, basically anywhere that you think might have activity, go and investigate it. But yeah, I'd stay clear of those tragic sites. Another thing that we've been tossing up for quite a few years now is morally, because we've been asked, would we go out? Years ago, we got asked if we would go out to a roadside memorial spot where someone had a loved one that passed away. in a car accident, and they've put up a memorial cross. And that's not something that we had ever thought to do. But then, being asked to do it, we actually, we didn't decline it. We just couldn't do it when they wanted to do it. And this is going back quite a few years ago. And after I said, look, we can't make it, I started thinking about morally, is that right? Like, I just felt that I don't know. I want everyone's opinions on this. Is it any different to going to a cemetery? Is it any different to going to any other location and trying to communicate with that spirit? I think I felt funny about it or weird about it, like standing on the side of a road with traffic going past. Not that people would know what we were doing, and we did, for this particular one, we did have permission from the family to try and do that. They wanted to see if their loved one was still attached to that site. And I understand why they wanted to do it. But yeah, look, it's one of those things that I have never done, only because I haven't decided whether it's morally right or not. I struggle with, is it any different to going to a cemetery and doing what we do? Hi, Leanne Doll, how are you? So I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Have you done it? Would you do it? And yeah, just your thoughts on that. So, please put up some messages and just let me know what you think about that whole roadside thing. Besides the fact that it'd be quite dangerous because, you've got the traffic going. You certainly would be crazy to do it at night on those roads because there was an accident there for a reason. So yeah, I'd like to know what everyone's opinions on that is. All right, so what can affect the energy in a location to give you a false reading, or false positives, false evidence, that sort of thing? So the first thing on our list is EMF, so your electromagnetic fields. They can be heightened or interfered with because of power lines, a number of things. So there could be power lines overhead. They could be underneath the ground that you can't see. And sorry, I'm really struggling tonight. There could be electrical cables running that you can't see. Lots of things can cause extra EMF. We were in a location in Queensland, and it was like an old Queenslander house, and we were doing our sweep, and someone said to us, "Oh, we're getting a lot of EMF over here. We're getting activity over here." And Rob was with me, and he looked at where he went over to and started doing some readings, and he looked and saw that there was a great big piece of metal that ran right near where we were getting all the activity, and it ran down to the floor. And there was under the floorboards that we couldn't see, because he worked for Telstra and he knew where cables and stuff would run. We found that there was a huge cable, electrical cables running underneath the floor, and this metal thing was sitting on it. So yeah, you've got to look at all the things that could maybe conduct electricity as well. So when we then moved the EMF down to the floor, we could almost follow that cable across the floor. So EMF can, power sources and that sort of thing can really screw up and give you false readings when you're thinking that it's spirit and it's actually not. So water does the same thing. So you've got to look for wells. So at Cockatoo Island, we get a lot of EMF in a certain area, and that we've found that there is a well there, and it's all around that well. Now the well is covered over from the ground, but it's still underneath the ground, we've been told, and the EMF there is crazy. So wells, rivers, streams, any sort of body of water, even like mineral springs, all that sort of thing. So they can help. Whoa, Okay, let's have a look. Sally. I would be surprised if you found any activity at a crash site, as the victim spirit would normally be attached to their loved ones, both on the side and the other, on this side and the other side. So unless they were physically with you at the time, I doubt it would be active energy. That being said, the residual energy left behind could certainly be felt. Yeah, look, I completely agree with that, Sal. They were going to be with us. I would never go and do that without the family's consent. That was where I sort of drew the line, is that I would never just pull up on the side of the road and go, oh, look, there's a memorial here, let's try and see if we can contact spirit. So the family would have been with us, and you're right, the spirit was more likely to be attached to them than the site where they've passed. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's just something I don't feel comfortable doing. I don't know why. Yeah, I just find it a little bit disrespectful. I don't know. I think maybe because you definitely know it's a tragic accident, and I wouldn't want to try and bring the spirit back to that site or to relive that. Yeah, so I've personally chosen not to do it. I think if I was ever asked, I would say to someone, look, let's not do it at the site. For that reason, let's not try and bring the spirit back to that area. Let's do it in your home where it's a more loving environment. Okay, so yeah, wells, waters, storms, water will conduct, and flowing water will, that also gives off an energy too. Storms. So we've done a couple of investigations during thunderstorms, and that's a little bit crazy. It's really cool because you've got the lightning, the thunder, the rain and everything, and it adds to the atmosphere, like the creepy atmosphere, but it's a pain in the bum because it'll contaminate all your, hey Mia, how are you, doll? It'll contaminate all your evidence, so all your recordings and everything like that. What we did find that during an electrical storm, the activity during the electrical storm didn't change, but just after, when everything had died down, there was a lot of obviously energy in the area, in the air, and spirits then became more able to come through easier and quicker. So we've noticed that on a couple of the investigations that we've done. One was out at Skyville, one was at out the back of Blacktown, and at the Oaks, and both occasions, not while the storm was happening, but afterwards, within 15-20 minutes of it calming down, that's when it seemed to ramp up. So do electrical storms interfere? Yes, they do. Sorry, not interfere, but do they heighten? Yes, they do. We've been able to prove that. The problem with having the storms during an investigation is storms usually bring rain, and rain can sound so different. When just a tiny little drip, right down the end of a house in a drain dripping, can sound very different on your equipment. So yeah, it really does contaminate. Your natural products, so things that hold energy, so sandstone, lime, copper, all those sorts of things, quartz. So if you're in an area where the land has got a lot of quartz in the land, or it's a sandstone building, or you've got a lot of lime, that can also store some extra energy, and spirits can use that to, be able to manifest their communications. But it can also, on your equipment, your electronic equipment, it can give you some false readings. And we've had, especially with the lime and the sandstone, we've had that a number of times. I haven't really had to deal with the copper. I don't think we've ever had an issue with copper. But in areas where there's a lot of lime in the soil and sandstone, yes, we've had strange readings in the middle of nowhere, where there's no just a piece of sandstone, and we're getting EMF off this sandstone. And in one particular spot, I think it was 3 blocks, and that whole block we were getting EMF off, and there was nothing attached to it. It was like a ruins. So that was interesting. So the moon phase. So a lot of people work with the moon, and some people don't believe. I personally believe that each cycle of the moon has a different energy, and that can also affect our evidence. It can either increase or decrease the energy that's around. Another thing that's really important is us, the investigator. It can come down to our mood and our energy that we're taking in. So if you go into an investigation and you're vibrating low because you're not well or you're in a foul mood, that can also affect the energy and the location. And if you've got a group of people, and say I go in and I'm got the shits, and or I'm unwell, then my energy then is going to bring down other people's energy. And then as a group, if we've got a low energy, then that's going to affect the energy that we're using to try and communicate with spirit. So remember last week, I think it was last week, where I said, as a communicator or a medium or investigator, we have to heighten our energy to be able to meet with spirit, and they've got to come down, lower theirs, and we have that connection. That's where we communicate. So if our energy is low, and as a group it's low, then we're going to have a harder time trying to have that connection. So make sure when you're going out on investigation that the energy of you and the other people there are, you're in a good space. Also too, if you're low energy and you don't know what you're walking into, this is why we always protect ourselves. If you're on low energy and you're going into somewhere where spirit may take advantage of that, then you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation. What else? Something else that a lot of people aren't aware of is satanic rituals. So a lot of people, usually younger people or people that think they know what they're doing, go into a haunted location and start trying to conjure up God knows what. They could very well bring something into that environment that they shouldn't be, and that could then stay there. Okay, Mia, so true. All it takes is one person to be off and can derail the connection. Yeah, how many times have we had, and we're guilty of it ourselves. We're not always going to be right up there ready to go. Mia, can I consider you as a spiritual? Okay, hang on, let me get rid of this one. Why do we always get these? Let me just see if I can get rid of them. Just ignore. Hang on. They piss me off. How can I block them? Block. Confirm. Confirm. Okay, that should get rid of them. Let me know if... This small in an event setting. Yeah. I think we've got rid of them, hopefully. Oh, they've attacked you all. Aren't you all lucky? Speaking of energy vampires. Anyway, we'll get back to what we're talking about. So yes, you've got to be careful that someone hasn't been in there and done some sort of satanic ritual and brought something into the environment too that could be affecting it. We have tried to increase the energy in an environment through different methods, and that's what we'll talk about now, is how to increase spirit activity. Look, if you can increase the energy in the area, then basically what you're trying to do then is hopefully you can increase the chances of a spirit being able to use that energy. So you could always charge the environment with static energy, and there's lots of different devices. I don't know if any of you guys have got them, that you can put into the environment and it will charge the environment and put more electricity into the environment. Hopefully the spirit can then use that to manifest their communications. We tried an experiment years and years ago. I wouldn't mind trying it again. Is with one of those plasma balls. You know, the ones that you see. You probably had them in your high schools, and it's got all the usually purple or blue, and you can move it around with your hands. We tried that on a location in the hopes that maybe it would, you know, be able to help with communication. It didn't. It looked cool, but it didn't. But I don't think when this was going back quite a while, I don't think I probably used it to its best ability. So I might try that again one day. Let me know if you guys have tried that. So to try and increase the spirit activity, try different techniques. So some spirits will not be able to communicate the same way as others. Some may find it easier to communicate one way than another. So if you're finding that you're not getting much or you're not getting anything at all, try changing your techniques. Oh, this rib, sorry. Try changing your techniques and the equipment that you're using. But it's all about being patient too. You really need to be patient when you're doing investigations. Another thing that we've tried is playing music. So just by playing different types of music, and obviously you would think about the location that you're in and what music might be appropriate. So when we're at a historic location, there was one there that was sort of around the war era. We looked at what music would have been playing then, and we played that, and that actually helped us get the communication going. So Howe House was the first place that the polka dance was danced in New South Wales or Australia or something like that. So we played some music appropriate for that, and that helped energize the location for that night. We got some great stuff that night. I'm just making sure that we've got rid of that troll. I get at least one every week on this live. They're a pain in the ass. Nothing better to do. Another thing is, so try your music or different sounds. So we did try the war sirens once, and that had a negative effect. We were getting a little bit desperate that night, and it had a negative effect, so we probably won't ever try that again. But it's all about experimenting, and that's what we're doing essentially, is investigating, is experimenting with how different ways that we can try and communicate. What I say to a lot of people that have come to me over the years and asked me to do a reading for them, and because they've lost a loved one, they desperately want to get some sort of confirmation that their loved one is still around. And the best way I can describe it for them is that we can still communicate, and obviously they don't understand this until they have proof that they've had a good connection, and they've had proof that their loved one has come through. But the best way to describe it is, I always say, we can still communicate with them. It's just like having a different telephone line now, where sometimes the reception's really good and sometimes it's not, and sometimes they don't answer because they're not there to answer. So I always think about my grandparents, and how when I was a kid I could pick up the phone and talk to grandma. Now it's the same sort of thing, but I just have to work harder at it, and it's yeah, it's very difficult to try and help somebody who's grieving or has not had that personal experience with spirit coming through, to make them understand that their loved ones are still there. And a lot of people say to me, but why did my nana come to my cousin but won't come to me? Well, that's all about not so much about nana, but it's about the person. So it might be that they're not seeing the signs, or the signs that they're getting are just not good enough. They want extra, they want something more concrete, and spirit might not be able to do that. So other things that we can use to try and encourage spirit activity is trigger items. So we've talked a little bit about this before. Trigger items are anything that might entice the spirits that would have been at that location to maybe come through. So for example, if you're in a prison, we use I think it was from Dubbo Jail, or Trial Bay Jail. In their souvenir shop, they had one of the key rings with a couple of keys hanging off it for $10 or something. I thought, oh, that'd be a great trigger item for jails and prisons. So I got that. So just by having that there and jingling them, putting that energy, that sound back into that environment, that is a sound that is familiar to them. Sometimes that is a great trigger to get activity from spirit. You might want to offer, for example, in a prison, you might want to offer some coins. You might want to offer, we've got a little bottle of some alcohol. You know, there's ones that you can get for like $6 in the bottle shop, the little mini throwdowns. You might want to offer one of those. A cigarette. Cigarettes always work. If you're not a smoker, find someone who is a smoker, grab a cigarette off them, put them in a Ziploc bag and put it in your kit, because we've always got activity when we've offered a guard or a prisoner a cigarette. And we've had some great activity at Parramatta Jail, actually, when offering a cigarette to a guard. And hey, Dave, how are you? Good evening. Oh, sorry, I'm late. I got stuck in the eighth dimension. Not a problem. Yes, so prisons could also be so alcohol, coins, like money, cigarettes, the keys jingling, that sort of thing. In an asylum where they're probably not the sort of things that you should use. You could probably use the cigarette in the asylum, but in the asylum we sort of go more softer. So we've got teddy bear, we've got a deck of cards. What else do we use? I've got a little toy ball, a little doll. So we sort of go a little bit softer with our trigger items there. But yeah, if you know the history of the location, think about what would have been their currency, and the things that they would have liked to have had in that environment that maybe they couldn't get. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring something into the location that they either would encourage them to or entice them to communicate, or as an offering. And there's been many a times where we've said, look, we will leave this here for you if you can come through. And I've left stuff there. Lollipops are great. We've had lollipops used when we're trying to entice a child spirit to come through. But anyone likes a lollipop. A couple of Chubba Chups. I've always got Chubba Chups in the kit. Initially they were there for us for a bit of a sugar hit, but I wouldn't eat them now. They've been in there for years, in the kit for years, but they're a good trigger. Now we'll go back to provoking. We're talking about that earlier. So in my early days of investigating, I did provoke in certain environments, and jails and prisons were one of them, because I sort of thought, well, they're rough tumble, they're criminals, they've done the bad things. I've got to get down on their level, and I'll talk and I'll swear and I'll, provoke a little bit. And I did that in one location and nothing happened. and I did it at Parramatta Jail with Rob's cousin, who's in another team, and we were up in one of the cells, and we provoked a little bit, not too bad, but it was like, you've got two females in your cell, come and talk to us, you're not man enough to come and talk to us, that sort of stuff. We're being a bit disrespectful, to be honest. And we got massive response. Audio, physical, yeah, we got a massive response. And at the time I thought, oh my God, that worked. But then when I walked away, I thought, you know what? I don't know who that was. It was definitely a prisoner. It was in the cell, and it came through and gave us a name and said they were a prisoner. I don't know who that was. I don't know what his mental state was. Yes, he's obviously done something to get himself in there, but do I have the right to go in and basically bully him? And then I felt really bad, and I thought, no, I don't. Whatever his crime was, he's doing his time. Maybe he's really remorseful. Maybe he was not guilty, and I've gone in there treating him like shit and disrespecting him. So since that time, I have never, ever gone and provoked again. I felt quite bad doing it, and it's not the sort of person that I am in my everyday life. I know a lot of people do it, and I'm not judging, but I just choose not to do it now. I did have an adverse reaction to it. It worked, but it wasn't a great reaction. Dave, I like to play music that they may have liked or is significant. God Save the Queen, traditional music, or bush ballads. Yeah, exactly right. We were just talking about the music and having a look at your environment that you're in, and having a look at the history and the time. Are you back in the late 18s, early 19s, the 1950s, and have a look at the time frame of that period of time, that period, and play that sort of music. If you don't know, or it's a location that could span over a lot of try different things and see what works. But music is a massive trigger. I mean, music brings people together. You think about some of the songs like Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. If someone plays that now, doesn't matter where you are in the world, what country you're in, you all know the song, and it takes you back to, I don't know, childhood or early adults or whatever. It takes you back. Music connects us all. So music is a really good trigger. Thank you for that. So I don't tend to provoke anymore. I just think I personally don't like doing it. I don't feel good doing it. You would never do it in an asylum or something like that. And I just thought, well, being in a jail, that would be the area to do it if you're going to do it. I just make sure that this pain in the butt has been taken out. Yes, it has, I think. If you're still having problems with this troll, let me know. Okay, so the hazards and the health issues associated to investigating. So you guys that have been out investigating, you'll probably understand a lot of these and be able to agree with them, but you might also have some more. So feel free if I miss any, and there's probably quite a few I'll miss, but anything that you think is really important, just pop it up in the comments. So some of the hazards: dust. If you're an asthmatic, I suggest that you always have a mask and a puffer, obviously, in your kit. But some of these places have not been had any human activity for a long time. So dust is always going to be, as soon as we walk into them and you start taking photos, you can see all the orbs, so all the dust and everything. So dust can be very hazardous to our health. So can the mold. A lot of places have mold, black mold. mold that you can't see, but you can smell it. So yeah, you've really got to be careful what sort of environment you're going into. We have a couple of and this is before COVID and everything, but we have a couple of I can't think of the brand they are, of masks that we sit in our kit in case we ever need them, if the location calls for it. Another big one that we find a lot is bat droppings. They are toxic to your health, and any other droppings, birds, pigeons, you can smell it a mile away. Those sorts of things you do not want to be hanging around too much in. Asbestos, and a lot of these buildings, covered in asbestos, and then you get the vandals in that are going in and smashing up walls and doors and things like that, putting their feet through, walls, and glass and stuff. So yeah, asbestos is massive. If you have the opportunity to go into an abandoned place, I would be masking up. You just don't know what's in there as far as your molds and your pest droppings and things like that, but mainly the asbestos. You don't want to breathe that shit in, and you're walking around stirring it all up. I'd be wearing a mask. Carbon monoxide too. Some of the older places you could have carbon monoxide in there. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? It's like so safe to go investigating. Then you're looking for rotten building materials, so you've always got to watch above and below, making sure that there's no rotted beams, floorboards. You know where your stepping is secure. Then you've got live electricity, so it might look abandoned. It might have a couple of cables hanging out. You think, oh, there's no power in this place. It very well could be still live. So you need to be very careful when you've got exposed cables. Then you've got your snakes, your bugs, your moths, all your creepy crawlies, your spiders. I don't know how many moths that I've actually eaten on investigation, mainly when we've been working outdoors because they love the lights on the camera. You've got your mozzies, you've got fleas, like in the hot weather. You tend to wear, shorts because it's hot, and then you come out and you're covered in flea bites and things like that. Then you've got some of the other hazards and the dangers are other humans that aren't supposed to be there. So whether it's young kids, could be homeless that are there and they're using that place for shelter. They will get very protective. Rob and I have worked with homeless for quite a while now, so we understand their situations, and they will get very protective and will get aggressive if they think that they're under attack. So but yeah, you've got squatters, you've got kids, out doing things that they shouldn't be doing, that sort of thing. So you've got to make sure that you've got that's a huge hazard, and that you're always safe. Your physical health. So there have been a number of times, as many of you probably know, I have a whole stack of autoimmune issues that affect me within 5 minutes. So there's been a number of times I've gone out on investigation and haven't been feeling 100% physically, and that can really take its toll when you're out in the elements, whether it be the heat or the cold, or you're standing for long periods of time. So you really need to consider your physical health a priority, and make sure that you are physically able to be out for 8 hours, or be climbing up and down stairs, or be walking around in the dark, stumbling, making sure you've got good shoes on, protecting your ankles, that sort of thing. So you've got to really think about your physical health. And I know sometimes it might be a location that you're really looking forward to going to, and you don't want to miss out, and you think, oh, I'll be right. Yeah, like, you need to be sensible about it. And your mental health is massive. Going in, and again, I've done it too, where I haven't been 100%. we've had, some issues, and I've let myself get run down, and you're asking for trouble if you're going out into an environment where you don't know what to expect spiritually. And if you're not on top of your game, that can be really draining and can be dangerous. So, yeah, that's a hard one. A lot of us suffer, and I'll include myself, with depression and anxiety, on and off, or for periods of time. So I suggest that if you are someone that suffers with depression or anxiety, um, and you do want to go on investigation, that you make sure that you're going with people that really have your back and really know you, so that they can tell if something's affecting you more than what it normally would be. So if you're going to go out and investigate and you do suffer from mental health, make sure that you've got a ride or die with you that is going to have your back 100%. Another hazard is no phone service and signal, for safety reasons. So that's not something that you really know until you get there. But yeah, just that's one of the hazards of it, is you can be out in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, and if something goes wrong, then yeah, always got to have a backup plan. Another big one is, one of the big hazards is taking strangers on investigations with you, especially if you're doing it at night time. We don't usually take anyone with us. If we do, we make sure it's daytime until we know them. You don't know how they're going to react. You don't know what sort of people they are. Yeah, so your safety is paramount. So taking strangers to especially an undisclosed location, maybe no one knows that you're there. There might not be any security, and yeah, I wouldn't be doing it. All right. So, are there any other hazards that you guys might know of that we really should discuss? It's very hot in here tonight. Just pop them up if you've got them. All right. So, what I'm going to do now is I've put together a couple of questions that we get asked all the time, and over the last few years, they're ones that keep popping up, that we keep getting asked. So just going to quickly run through those. So the first one is, best piece of advice for starting out in the field. I guess the best piece of advice I could give anyone would be to go into it slowly. Go in, work out what your comfort level is, and build up slowly. Don't throw yourself in the deep end into a massive, big investigation or a really haunted location. Start with the baby steps. So start going out on tours, maybe that are organised by another group that have been doing this for a while. That way you'll get to see what it's like on investigation. You'll get to use some of the equipment. I do know a couple of people that were all gung-ho about going out to the spooky locations and doing an investigation, but when it came down to it and they were walking around in an abandoned place in the dark, completely freaked out, and they couldn't handle it. That's because they put themselves into a situation that was way past their comfort zone. So my best advice would be, one is don't investigate on your own, but is to build up to it. Okay. Not everyone is a Jason Hawes and can walk into anything. So yeah, just build up to it. How do you learn how to use the equipment properly? That's through educating yourself. So like I said, going on these tours where they've been using the equipment for quite a while is a good way to learn. You can watch the TV shows and everything and get some ideas on how how to use them. YouTube's good. I think to use equipment properly and to get the best results, you need to understand how the piece of equipment works. I'm not a tech head, and I find it confusing with all the electronic gadgets. Rob understands them more than I do. But educate yourself, read up on them, speak to the makers. So if you're getting your equipment from, say, Go Stop or something like that, contact them and just say, look, is there something I can download? Is there something you can give me to explain more in depth on how I use it? But it all comes down to practicing too, a trial and error. So I just educate yourself as much as possible. Trial and error, learning from others who are in the field, and don't be shy to ask someone, look, I don't really know how this works, or what am I doing wrong? And it might well be that the other person is thinking the same thing. So you might be able to work together and educate yourself, find out the answers, and do some experiments with it. So that's probably the best way to learn how to use it. What toll does investigating take on your body, and how do you handle it? Okay, so Sarah's got a lot of equipment makers have videos of the product on their sites to help too. Yeah, that's right, Sarah. Thank you. So yeah, go and check out those videos, and then after you've watched the video, sit there and pause it and do a bit by bit as you've got the equipment with you. Go out and use the equipment, and then if you still need to, contact the maker of the equipment and just say, look, I don't quite understand this. What's the best way? Or I'm having this issue. So yeah, thank you, Sarah. So what toll does investigating take on your body, and how do you handle it? So that all depends. All depends on where you're at spiritually. All depends on whether you protect yourself. I'm always going on about protection. So I will protect myself before I go out, during and after. Look, it depends on the location really as to what toll it can take on the body. Everyone talks about the paranormal hangover, and I know that a lot of you guys have felt that paranormal hangover. The guys in my Wednesday class, the first couple of weeks when they were just learning about their own energy and everything, and put them through their paces, a lot of them were saying, oh, I'm so exhausted, I'm tired, I got this brain fog, I just want to sleep. And that's part of it. That's where we've used a lot of our own energy. So you sort of get like a hangover, like from being drinking all night. You can feel really lethargic and everything. It's very important to ground, and we make sure that at the end of each investigation that we do our grounding. But also too, there's been times, and if you've investigated with me, you've probably seen me disappear outside, take my shoes off, walk around on the grass, just get some fresh air, and that's me grounding. So if I feel that during the investigation I need some grounding, and I'll just stop, pure and simple stop, go out and do some grounding. If you are getting headaches and that sort of thing, I would seriously look at how you're protecting yourself and how you're approaching the investigation. Headaches will come from a lot of energy being around you and you absorbing that energy. Maybe you need to look at ways to be able to stand back a little bit from that energy. So it is hard. It does, each investigation does affect you differently, some more so than others. But it's also too that a lot of the times if you're an investigator at night, if you prefer to do nights, then you could be in a location for up to 8 hours. Hey Scott, how are you? on the road, g'day. You could be in that location for hours and, standing on, concrete floors and standing in one spot for a long time, or sitting on a concrete floor or something like that while you're doing a lone vigil. All those things will take a toll on your body. Make sure you stay hydrated, that you have snacks, sugary snacks. Cookies are always good, muesli bars, that sort of stuff. So it will take a toll on your body, but you're just going to have to assess that as you go. And if you ever feel that during the night or during the investigation that you're taking too much of a hit, then you need to leave. You need to leave, you need to ground. And yeah, so it can affect everyone differently. Why do some people feel spirits and others don't? Okay, so that can come down to obviously some people are more sensitive than others. A lot of people ask me, do you have to be a medium to go on investigation? No, you don't. Everyone has the ability to feel spirit. It comes down to sometimes personal belief. Some people don't believe, they're very skeptical. And I find that the more skeptical people are and they're not open to it, the less they will feel. Not always, but as majority, the less they will feel. I think too it comes down to, it really comes down to whether you are comfortable with being in that environment too. If we're just saying before, I think it was Sally or Mia, we're just saying that if your own energy and the other people with you can really affect what the activity that you get through. So if you go in there and you're put up a wall because you're either fearful or you're skeptical or you didn't really want to be there in the first place, you've just had to tag along because someone wanted you to come with them, your energy is blocked. All right. You're less likely to, not that you can't, but you're less likely to feel spirit communication. If you go in there and you're more open to the possibility of anything happening, then yeah, you're more likely to feel it. You don't have to be a medium. I've been asked many times whether it's more beneficial to have a medium on an investigation team, or is it better not to have a medium? And it just depends on how you want to investigate. I personally find that having a medium can help direct you. When they're picking up on something, they might be saying, well, look, we need to go over here and I can feel a woman. They might be able to help steer you into a direction that you weren't going to go in because they're picking up on energy. Some people prefer that in an investigation, to be able to have just a little extra. It's just like having an extra tool, I guess, in your arsenal to be able to communicate with spirit, is having that medium to help guide you, or maybe say, I think they feel like they're backing off, let's try something different. So it all depends on what you. Okay, I might leave that one till last because it's a bit of a hairy one. Do you get scared on investigations? Yeah, I do. Not often, and it takes a bit for me to be freaked out. There's been a couple of investigations that I have felt really, really uncomfortable in, and got to that point where I was just about to run out the door. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't happen very often, but it depends on how intense the energy is. I think it was, so most of you know that I was at Zach Baggins' museum a couple of years ago. The Divic box room, that was horrific. And I thought to be honest, I thought it was all BS. I thought it was all hype for his show. It's not. That was horrific. Melbourne Jail, there's a certain cell there that was full on. The Beechworth jail, that was full on. I think they're probably the only ones where I was really starting to get to the point where I had to leave. But yeah, there are things that I usually find it. I find when something big happens, that sort of more doesn't scare me, it more energizes me to go, oh my God, okay, we've got this bit of information and we're getting some activity. How can I get more? How can I increase it? I don't tend to get scared, but there there have been times where I was freaked out. But and people say, oh, how can you do this? Why don't things freak you out? Spirit's been around me all my life, and I think that probably helps. Also too, and a lot of people think this is weird, being a medium and being a paranormal investigator. I do not watch scary movies, not very often. I've watched a few over my lifetime. I don't like the jump scares. And it pisses me off because I think, oh my God, that's not how it works. That's not how spirit comes through. So I really don't like the scary stuff. So while you and I might be in a location together and something happens, your mind might be going off to whatever crazy movie that you've seen recently and what could happen with the stalkers and the shit coming out of cupboards and knocking on windows and looking through windows and crap. I don't have that in my vocab or my thought process because I don't watch that shit. There's nothing wrong with watching it. I really don't like that sort of stuff. So maybe that's one of the reasons that I don't get too scared too often. I by no means am shy to say that I'm freaking out or I've just crap myself because something's happened. But yeah, it's not very often that I get freaked out. Do you have to have psychic ability to investigate? No. So we basically covered that one before. Evidence we capture and our responsibility in presenting it. That wasn't a question. It was something that I just wanted to talk about. So as a paranormal investigator, we have a responsibility. We've got lots of responsibilities, but in what we capture and how we, sorry, this rib's really hurting tonight, how we present it, we have a lot of responsibility there. So there's a lot of stuff that we do not present to anybody because we feel that it will be taken it the wrong way. So, for example, we might get a really interesting photo and there's a couple of different orbs, different colors and stuff like that. And we know that they're dust. But it's just fascinating where they've come up on the photo or how they've presented themselves. And we won't put that up because we know people are going to jump on it and say, oh, that's a spirit and I can see your grandmother in it and all that sort of stuff, right? So we have a responsibility in how we present. We did last year when we went to, where are we? Oops, here we go. Sorry, it's just jumping up. Dave, how do you deal with a spirit that says they're losing energy? Do you invite them to use yours or to take it from electronic devices? I prefer the latter, but have heard other people say to use theirs. Fantastic. I love it. Okay. Me personally, because I can feel their energy and I can feel what sort of spirit they are, what their energy is like, if I am comfortable with the type of spirit they are, if I can feel them fading back, I will invite them to use my energy. There have been many times where I have felt where they were just like, it wasn't a good, it didn't feel right. And there was no way in the world I was going to invite them to use my energy. You're not inviting them into you. But yeah, look, a lot of people, a lot of people, I have heard them say, use my energy. And I'm thinking, do you really understand what that means? Because if they use your energy, you're completely zapped. You can be completely zapped, and it can affect you in so many different ways. So I really, my ears prick up when people say, oh, use my energy, use my energy. And I'm thinking, oh, have you had this happen before? Have you had real spirit come through, use your energy? Have you experienced that before? Because I hope you have, because I think it's a little bit more full on than what you realize. I do, I always offer them to use the equipment, the energy off the equipment, but only will offer to use my energy if I feel safe in the fact that they are going to use it in the right way, and that I can still control my energy. It's very silly for people to try and give all of their energy for communication. That's crazy, crazy. But yeah, great question. I love that. That is something that we probably should have covered in the apprenticeship. But yeah, thank you, Dave. That was a good one. Scott, yeah, I did that tour at Zach's. Oh, did you? It's crazy, isn't it? I did the flashlight tour and got to spend time alone in the in the Divic room. I didn't last long in there. That is, I came out of there. I'm not an aggressive person. I'm a lover, not a fighter. And because you've got to walk in one at a time, and you've got to stick around the wall. And this room's decent size, but it's got the Divic box in the middle, and it's encased and everything. Before I went in there, I thought, you know what, it's just all BS. But I wanted to go in there to say that I'd been in the Divic box room and everything. And as soon as they opened up the door, I thought, oh, that doesn't feel good. And a couple of people went in before me, and then it was my turn. And as soon as I stepped over the threshold of that room, I was like, it was not good. And you've got to walk around the wall. And then by the time I came out, I was a mess. And I walked up to Rob, and I was so agitated and aggravated and angry that I had my fists like this, and I just wanted to attack somebody. And that's not me at all. And Rob had to bear hug me. I had to put my hands in my hoodie, like my fists. I could not I just wanted to punch something. I had to put them in my hoodie, and he stood behind me and held me like this, so I didn't attack anyone. And I just tried to breathe it out. Yeah, that was not a good place to be. Leanne, I will allow to use my energy if they have the right energy for me. Exactly right, Leanne. And that's exactly what I'm saying. If you can feel that it's okay and it's safe for you to do it, and you're happy to do it, absolutely. Dave, it's like inviting in a vampire. It can be. It can be. I told it to take energy from my flashlight, which I had standing up. It fell over after saying so. There you go. It's using that. But that's what I mean. Like, you really need to, before you invite anyone to use your energy, it's just like another human being. If one of you were sitting here right now, I wouldn't say, here, have all my energy, use all my energy, because I'm leaving myself with nothing. And how do I know that you're going to use my energy in the right way? So, yeah. Okay, so what were we up to? Yeah, so we have a responsibility on how we present our evidence. And what I was going to say is, last year, towards the end of the year, there was a whole group of us. I took organised a trip. There was, I don't know, 12 of us, 8 of us. I don't know. We had people coming and going all trip. And we went down to Victoria, and we're at Beechworth, and we're at the asylum. And we were with the lovely Mia, if you're still on Mia. And Mia's got long, dark hair. So we went to the op shop, and I bought an old sheet, and we cut a hole in it, and we put it over Mia and put all of her hair forward, and we did some photos and videos of her walking around and stuff, looking like this freaked out ghost up against the backdrop of the asylum. And it's just a bit of fun. and there was no intention of posting this saying, oh, look what we captured, we caught a ghost, and bullshitting. But when I did, when we drove into the property, we were driving in at night time, and I took a photo of my headlights on the creepy road with the trees over the top and everything. And then I cut out a photo of Mia in this with her hair down at the front. And I put her on the road. So it looked really creepy. It was really cool. But I thought, oh, I really want to share this like with everyone that was in the group. So I put it up on our capture page. And it looked fantastic. But I put it up there in big letters. This photo has been faked. This is just a bit of fun. Don't take it seriously. We're not saying that we caught this, crazy spirit girl. Oh God, we got another one. Hang on. Let me get rid of these trolls. Seriously. Let me get rid of them. Wish they'd just bugger off. Block. Okay. Confirm. Yeah. Okay. So we should. Sorry, Sally, they've grabbed you on that one. I like using their emojis. And Sarah, they should be gone now. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun to do that photo and stuff, but we had the responsibility to say, guys, this isn't real. We're not pretending it's real. We're not trying to convince people that it's real. So yeah. Why do some people promote an investigation, do lives, but never post evidence? Okay. Right. So there's a number of reasons. Sometimes the locations that they're doing are undisclosed locations. They call them undisclosed because they're not allowed to tell you where they are investigating. And a lot of the times when they call it undisclosed and they say that they can't tell you where they're investigating, that's a load of BS. Some locations will let you come in and investigate as long as you do not promote it as a haunted location, or promote it in any way on social media and that sort of thing, because they don't want 3 million people that don't know what they're doing coming out, contacting them, saying, can we go ghost hunting here, or just turning up and trespassing on the property. So sometimes some of those locations are actually genuinely undisclosed for privacy reasons and security reasons for the facility. Other times you'll get groups, teams, investigators, whatever you want to call them, coming on and saying, we've got this undisclosed location, and they're dangling it like a piece of meat in front of you to try and get your attention. And then they might do a live out there and they're like, oh, we're at this undisclosed location. A lot of the time they're doing that just for likes, just for shits and giggles, just for attention. The other reason they do that is because they want to show you that they're out investigating. They want to show you what they've captured, but they don't want to tell you where they are because they don't want everyone else out in what they will most likely feel is their location. So there is a huge problem in the field about sharing locations. If someone's got a location that they do on a semi-regular basis, unfortunately, most of them feel like they own it. They don't want anyone else in there investigating it. It's a whole hubbubaloo in the field. So that is why some people will call it a undisclosed location. It could be that it is, and the proprietors have asked not to, but they still want to give you a little insight into what they're doing, and that's fine. Other times it's to rev you up and just make it seem more mystical and that sort of thing. Definitely a lot of undisclosed locations around here. Yeah, there are. We have, I don't think we've ever, the only when we call a location undisclosed, it's usually a private property, and we'll tell you it's a private property. I don't think we've ever called any of the ones that we've gone to an undisclosed location. We have had to call locations undisclosed because the people that we're going out with that were organising it were calling it undisclosed. Yeah, but now another reason they don't post up their evidence is because a lot of people like going out and having the fun of running around in the dark and trying to capture spirit, but they don't want to then take the time to go through their evidence, or they don't know how to go through their evidence, and they just simply want to be running around in the dark and get the attention for how cool they are because they're ghostbusters or paranormal investigators, but they don't actually give you any substance or try and teach you or share anything with you, because they simply don't have the interest in the science behind it or why things are happening. They just want to have fun and go around and run around in the dark. Scott, I know others that do lives at cemeteries don't say purely for security reasons, as they don't want heaps of people turning up. That was my next point. So yeah, there are a lot of we've got a couple of properties that we've done over the years that have said, look, we don't mind you guys coming out here, but if you promote it, we're fearful that we're going to get a whole heap of people coming that don't ask for permission, that aren't doing it for the right reasons, and all turn up, and especially in cemeteries, where you're going to get a lot of, hopefully not, but you do get a lot of vandalism and stuff like that. So yeah, that's another reason that they don't post them up. Some are not actually investigating though. I know one particular person that will remain nameless that for a long time used to put up, oh, I'm here tonight and I'm here tonight, and all this sort of stuff. And then they would put up, I'm saying they, but it's either him or her, would put up a photo of their location that they're at investigating that night, and you could tell it was taken from the car, because a number of them you could see the side of the window. They're not actually getting out of their car to investigate. They're just going to usually dead-end roads that look creepy, cemeteries where they won't actually get out of the car, and they're taking photos from the car saying that they investigated. Each to their own. Look, and we've gone through this before, where there's a difference between ghost hunting and paranormal investigating. Ghost hunting is more for the interest, the spooky factor, the thrill of it, the jump scares and that sort of thing, where paranormal investigating is the more serious side of it, where there's actual science behind it, and there's experiments to try, and you're trying to work out, how spirits can still communicate, what's the best method that they can communicate. So there's a bit of a difference there. Okay, what is para-unity and does it exist? There has been so many posts on this, and everyone has a different view. Para-unity is a phrase that's been thrown around for a while now. And when I first heard this phrase of para-unity, I thought, oh, hang on, let's have a look. Dave, I found a location that I stayed at, and the owner was glad for an investigation to happen there, so I made it somewhat public to help his business. Yep, that's good. If that's what they want, that's great. Some businesses will let you do that. And now a group have taken it up. Why have I got this stupid thing on my... I've taken it up to... Group have taken it up to occasionally operate tours there. It suits me because I want to confirm my suspicions. Sorry. I want to confirm the suspicion. I get to go back to investigate with seasoned dudes, and it helps out two businesses. Perfect. See, it can work, and that is like a para-unity type. Hi, Julia. That is a para-unity type thing, and it's beneficial for both. But yeah, when I first heard the phrase para-unity, it was being thrown around and everyone was saying, oh, we believe in para-unity and everyone working together and for the common good and that sort of thing. But and I thought, well, yeah, I want para-unity too. I want everyone to be able to work together if they choose to, but at least respect each other and not try and fight against each other about locations and, you know, I've got more followers and all that sort of crap. And I really thought that the field could have para-unity in it. And we had, over the course of the years that we've actually been doing paranormal investigating, which is probably getting close to 18 years now, I think, something like that. There's been a number of people where we have linked in with and thought, you know, they're doing this for the same reasons we're doing it. We work well together and things like that. And then there's obviously people that you just don't want to work with because they have completely different ideas or different reasons and that sort of thing. And that's fine. Everyone has the right to do their own thing. But I just found there was a lot of copycatting. There's a lot of backstabbing and ego. And that it all comes from ego. So I was starting to really, and you sort of sit back. I didn't want to be involved in any of this. We sort of decided just to do our own thing and not be involved in anyone else's stuff. Like I'll be the first one to sit here and clap hands and say, great job, love the evidence, love that idea, congratulations. We post up other people's stuff and share other people's events and stuff like that. And for me, that's how I will be involved in the para-unity in this field. I will not associate myself or capture with any other group because we've tried that in the past and it hasn't worked for us because one reason or another. I'm not going to get into that. Sarah, there's definitely a lot of crap behind the scenes. It's kind of sad. There is a lot of crap. Julia, it's very sad. It's made us recluse more. Yeah, us too, Julia. It comes across as a very competitive field, sadly. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Oh, I just dropped my pen. Hang on a sec. Yeah, look, we've just been so disheartened because I had this vision of, oh my God, we could get all these groups all these smaller little groups that are doing their own thing and we could put them all together, still stay their own identity, but support each other and this sisterhood, brotherhood sort of thing. And yeah, and then it just doesn't work. It doesn't, we don't suit them or they don't suit us. And then you sort of sit back and you watch sort of what's going on the social media, and this one's bitching about this one, and there's all the undertones and stuff. And unfortunately, there's some really amazing investigators out there, some absolutely gorgeous people, and sadly they've been taken advantage of, and it all blows up on social media. Hey Jason, how are you, mate? It blows up on social media. Other people think they have the right to get involved and they've got to have a comment, and everyone, goes off in their little cliques. Oh, you know what? I just don't want any of it. Rob and I are a team of two, and we have never, well, we did try to expand the team, and that went south really quick. I put up a post saying, you know, we'd like to expand, and if you're interested, because I know how hard it was years ago when I was looking for somewhere where I wanted a group to go and investigate with, where I felt safe and comfortable and everything. And I know how hard that is to find. So I thought I'd open us up and take on a few people. I got all these crackpots. Hopefully, hopefully they're not on the live tonight watching. That I just had to say, oh, thanks, but no thanks. Okay, we're not doing this. We're just going to leave it, Rob and I. And then we've gone and worked with different groups, you know, like we work very closely with Belle and Vicky from Western Sydney Paranormal, Western Sydney Spirit Sisters. Sorry, girls. You know, we've worked with different groups all over. I am happy to go and do someone else's tour and learn from them. You know, we've still got to get down to Tassie, to Charmaine down there, but you know, I love the Adelaide Haunted Horizon girls, Kagan Alley. They are professionals. I mean, I know they joke around a lot and stuff, but they are professionals. They know what they're doing. They are honest. They are loyal. They are respectful. They are respected. I love watching their stuff. I love hanging out with them. But Rob and I, we won't align ourselves with anyone now. We've been caught out too many times. And I love the way that Kagan Alley, they run their group. They're very respectful, honest. And to me, I look up to those ladies and model myself. And to be honest, sometimes when shit's gone down or I've been confused about something, I'm straight on email, Kagan Alley. And they will come back, and they've always supported me. They've always given me honest advice. And that, I think, is what para-unity is you don't need to be in each other's pockets. You don't need to work with each other, but you can be there to support them and celebrate their wins and help them when they need to be picked up. That is what para-unity should be, not just a phrase that is flipped around by these people that have they talk the talk, they just don't know how to walk the walk when it comes to para-unity. Oh, I'm starting to get angry now. Let me go. Julia. We just do our own thing and happy for others. We have had a bad experience last year. We collaborated with someone, and then when we saw it wasn't working nicely, we got stalked and harassed. They even followed my husband to work and emailed crap to his boss. So since then, we've just husband and wife team too. Absolutely. We had the same situation. Everything I was doing was being copied. Everything I put up was being revamped and copied, and you know, and then I know people were saying to me, oh, so-and-so said this about you. And I'm like, you know what? If you want to listen to what they're saying, go ahead. Because if you really want to get involved in someone else's shit, then you're not the sort of person that I want around me either. So off you go. We've had our issues with certain people. They've had their issues with us. We don't air our dirty laundry, not interested in it. It's no one else's business. But yeah, Julia, Jason, that way it's only me and my wife in my team. Yep, that's exactly why Rob and I do it. Just the two of us. We don't. It's also handy when there's just the two of you, especially if you're husband and wife or partners, wife and wife, husband and husband, whatever it might be. It's also easy to just go, you know what, we were going to go and do this today. I couldn't be bothered. I don't feel like going out, or I'm not well. You're not letting anyone else down. You're not having to organise a whole group of people and say, oh, sorry, we're not going tonight, or and you can just, it's more leisurely, and if you haven't got massive groups of people. Paul Antoinette, hi guys. What do you think when a group advertises a paranormal event but says that they don't want other paranormal groups attending? Why? All I'm going to say to that so I don't end up with a whole heap of hate mail and more people bitching about me and no more knives in my back, is ask yourself why they don't want other paranormal groups attending. Is it because they are worried that they're going to be shown up? Are they worried that the other group might get more attention from their guests? Are they worried that they might get caught out with some BS that they're planning on putting forward or doing? That's all I'm saying to that. We've seen it a lot. I've actually been used as a tool and been asked to go out on other people's investigations because I'm a medium, because they think that my ability is a party trick and that I can turn it on and off as I like and that I can make shit happen so that their investigation is more interesting. That is why we no longer work with anyone else, is because I got tested and they wanted me to be like Sideshow Alley, so that they could benefit and put up that all this stuff had happened and this was picked up and that was picked up to make their investigation seem more legitimate. That I felt like I was being prostituted out, and I got very angry with that because as a medium, I work for spirit. I communicate what they're saying for spirit, not to line someone else's pocket or to boost their ego. I work for spirit. I don't work for anybody else when I'm doing that. So yeah, I get that. So true. Julia, I believe everyone is unique and has their own style. Exactly right. And that's what makes the legitimate investigators, that's what makes this field exciting, is because everyone has their own style. They have their own techniques. They have their own thoughts. And when people that have got different thoughts, different styles can come together in a respectful way and share that knowledge without there being ego or without being backstabbing or jealousy, that's fantastic. That's what excites me about the field, is when you find somebody that is happy to keep doing what they're doing but is interested in how you do it, and you can have that conversation without anyone feeling like one feels better than the other one. It's a very competitive field. We hate that competitiveness. That is not what we're about. It takes away from what we're trying to do. So that's why we stand back from it. But yeah, I 100% agree with you, Julia, is that everyone has their own style. And I think the genuine ones that have their own style, that's exciting. I mostly go solo, which restricts me a little, and have stuck with tours because I don't know many local people that are dependable. Oh, that's a good idea. Hang on, sorry. Oh, wow, I don't know what I've done to this rib. Dave, look, I think that's really smart. Going on other people's tours gives you the experience to see how the field works, have that contact with spirit, learn how to use the equipment in a safe way, and it is very hard to find somebody that you can trust to be able to go out and do this stuff with. So when we met Belinda and Vicky from Western Sydney Spirit Sisters, one of their comments that they said to me that stuck with me was they found it really difficult because they were two women going out to locations at night time just for their own security. So when we started working and going out on investigation with them, not only was there Rob with them, like a guy, but there was more of us. And then we brought in a couple of other groups and a couple of extra people and stuff. So we were making a group of people that we trusted. But that's what stuck with me with them. Was one of the first things that they said to me was, there's heaps of places we'd love to go to, but because we're two women, we feel like sometimes, and that they've had some really creepy experiences with humans in these locations. So, yeah, look, I think it's a good idea. Yes, it would restrict you, but you're staying safe, but you're still being involved in the field. So I think that's really good. I'm not sure where you are, Dave, but yeah, maybe I don't know, if you're local to Western Sydney, there's a couple of us on here that are Western Sydney. Maybe we can just go out and hang out. Not in the next few weeks because we're full on, but yeah, maybe we can private message us. We might be able to go out and do something. Paul and Antoinette, I definitely agree that they are going to be shown up. Yeah, they will. Karma will get them. We can all work together as a team. This is from Jason. We can all just learn something new. Oh yeah, we can all learn something new. Exactly, and that's what I like about working with other people. That's the benefit of working with other people is, Jason, you might come up with an idea that I didn't think of, or I might have a technique that you've never seen before. Like we can learn from each other. It doesn't mean that we have to do everything the same, but we can throw around ideas. And yeah, I mean, we're Heath from Illawarra Paranormal and I, over many, many years now, have periodically messaged each other and asked each other's advice, mainly me on his tech side and stuff, but he'll ask me spiritual stuff, I'll ask him tech stuff. And while we might not always agree with each other, it's always a respectful thing. Like he will take on board, okay, well, that's what Jen thinks. I sort of think this. He'll, it's always a respectful thing, and vice versa. Like I respect the fact that I have no idea on some of the tech stuff, but he does. And that's where we can work together, Jason. That's right. Oh, it's Antoinette. Okay, sorry, Jason. We can all work together as a team. There is no better team as we all learn something new. Exactly right, Leanne. Agree with the girls as it is me and my sister that investigate together, and it gets scary sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Try and drag one of the guys in, or maybe there might be another group of women. At least maybe you won't have a male there with you, but you'd have a bigger group. So yeah, it would restrict you. And I do feel safer, especially when we go out in a bigger group. Like when we're in what do you call it? Down in Victoria and Beechworth and that. We had we had three boys with us. Yeah, 3 or 4 guys with us. And they were big burly men, so we sort of, us girls, felt a little bit safer. So yeah, I mean, as you investigate and more and that sort of thing, you're automatically looking for those dangers and those, watching your security all the time. But I think it's more comforting, I guess, for, not that we're weak little women, because I'm certainly not, but it's just that I guess I always think that if there's some creepy guy around, he will be more deterred by my 6'4" husband than little old me, to do anything to us. Sarah, yay, hang out. Yeah, Sarah's from Western Sydney. Dave messaged me, I am local to you and we have met on a tour. Oh, Leanne, well, there you go. Lisa, Leanne Mac, is that during the day or night? Okay. All right, so that is about it for tonight. Does anyone want to talk about something else? We've been on for nearly 2 hours. And it's very hot in here. My face is going all red. I'm down in the Gong. In Eastern Creek. I'm down in the Gong. In Eastern Creek, Blacktown area every day. I don't have access to Heath's page. I'll leave it at that. Okay. So, all right. So if you're in Blacktown, that's near us. We're in Penrith. Maybe we can do something on a weekend. But Rob and I are absolutely flat out for the next quite a few weeks, actually. So, yeah, is there anything anyone else would like to have a chat about? Maybe bring up a quick topic we can all discuss. This will be our last Tuesday night for the Paranormal and Spiritual Apprenticeship. So this is week 4. This will be the last one, but next week on Tuesday, feel free to join me because I will be coming on. I'm not sure what time yet. I will post it up later in the week, but I'm going to start doing back to the readings. Okay, so if you'd like to try and get a quick little card reading, some insight maybe, picnic or a gamba. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Maybe when it gets a little bit cooler. It's really shitty out there at the moment. But yeah, no, picnic at Warragamba. We could get quite a few of us together. Awesome, genuine live. First time seeing you. Thank you, lovely. I try and keep it real. There's no BS here. There's no actually, that's something I will talk about. I was just going to say there's no ego and stuff. We all have ego. That is part of our makeup. We all have ego to a certain extent. But what we're talking about when we're talking about, the big egos and everything, that's when we're talking about the ones that are completely out of control. So there are times, and this is where, again, working with other people that you trust and and that you're close to. Sometimes when you had an amazing investigation and you've got some incredible interactions with spirit, you can't help but get a little bit pumped up. And I guess sometimes then your ego can get a little bit, how you going? And raises a little bit more than what it should. But that's just a natural thing. There is a difference in that and then going, giving yourself a bit of an ego check, to having it ramped up and just completely having to have your ego fed all the time. And working with a group or working with someone close that can say to you, hey, listen, pull your head in a little bit, like, yeah, it was good, but you're not all that. That's really important too. So if you can find someone that can ground you and keep you genuine, keep you honest, keep your ego in check, then you've got a winner. Okay. Yeah, Dave, talk to Sarah about that. Maybe you guys can have a chat. I think it was Sarah that she said to contact her. And yeah, maybe a picnic at Warragamba. Or maybe even down somewhere between Penrith and Wollongong. We're going to be in Wollongong not this weekend. This weekend we're in Manly at Quarantine Station. The following weekend we're in Wollongong. And then 2 weekends after that we're back in Wollongong. So coming down to watch the Dragons play. All right, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Like I said, this is the last week of the apprenticeship. Probably next Tuesday it'll be. I'm not sure what time, whether it'll be 7 or 8. But I will be on live doing card readings. So if you would like to jump on and get a reading, have enjoyed the last few weeks, Jen. I feel like I have learnt from you and have liked other people's ideas and insights. Thank you, honey. That was the whole idea, is I don't profess to know it all. None of us know it all. But I love sharing what I do know, and hopefully it's helping other people. And I love learning from you guys, because you guys teach me heaps too. Sarah, take care. See you tomorrow night, Sarah. We've got class tomorrow night, our Wednesday night woo-woos class, our Penrith spiritual class. Good night, Bob. Leanne, good night, doll. Ready to come to Queensland. It won't be this year. We have completely run out of time. We are booked almost solid. We've got one free weekend, Rach, between now and when we get back from the US in end of September. So yeah, we are almost booked solid. It's crazy, crazy. But Queensland is on our list because there's a couple of places up there I want to do. So Lisa, thank you. Oops, why did this jump around? I wish I discovered this earlier. Oh, thanks, lovely. Good night, Barb. Lisa, thanks, Jen. The lives have been really helpful. I can listen to you for hours. Oh, God. Me rabbit on. You're so sweet. You're my favourite now, Lisa. Okay, can't wait for tomorrow. Yeah. Never stop learning. That's right. And we're never supposed to know all of it. And that's the good stuff. That's the exciting stuff. Every time we get a little bit of contact, that makes us feel like we're a little bit further into understanding what's going on. We're never supposed to know. Otherwise, people decades before us would already know it all. Never stop learning. Rach, thank you and good night. Excellent. Good night, guys. Take care. Have a great week. And I'll see you next Tuesday with some Oracle cards. Cheers.